Okay, so what you want to do to make your own pattern so that we can do whatever pattern you want to do for free form. Just what I did was I found an old shirt that I didn't want. So find either a t-shirt or a shirt. This is what my shirt was like. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to cut my sleeve off, which I did here, and I'm going to cut the two sides. And then you've got your own pattern because it fits. You get a shirt that you like and that fits you the way you like it. You can make moderations, change it as you're going, but all I'm going to do is I'm cutting it. I'm just cutting the sewed part. I'm separating it. Just remember which is your front and which is the back. This one's easy because it's got a motif on the front. But yeah, you just cut this off, and it doesn't have to be perfect because odds are you're not going to have your free form absolutely perfect anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And then you go to your sleeve, and this is a bit of a tricky shirt because I got a undersleeve here, but just cut it as best you can. And I have to try and separate it. See, I've chosen a harder shirt, but it's okay. So I'm just going to cut it here, and you really just want to separate your whole thing so that you can have your own pattern. So that is separated there, and then you just cut the sleeve off. So that's all that you do. And yeah, then you're going to have your front, your back, your sleeves, and whoops, went a little bit off there. And now just cut here and just cut in that seam there. So it's pretty simple. And I say whatever design, if you want longer sleeves or shorter, or you just want the vest, whatever, and you can always keep this. This is a little bit thin. It's a very thin fabric, which probably isn't the world's best. It's nicer to have a slightly thicker one, but it's okay. I'm just going to work with this. And then you've always got your pattern. For whatever you want, you've got a pattern. If you want to now draw this onto some harder paper, you get the brown paper. You can just take it and actually draw this on if you want something firm or whatever you want to do. But this is all I'm going to use, and then I'm going to pin my motifs onto this, and then I'll do the freeform. So finish cutting your shirt out so that you've got a decent pattern that you can use, and I'll show you now. So then what we do is we'll be pinning. Remember which side is which for your sleeve. You just got to remember your front and back are slightly different, and you can see. So yeah, that's all you're going to do. There. So that's how you would halve it and put it in the right place. So cut your shirt, and I'll cut mine and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so just when you're cutting this out, if you don't remember which is your front or back, see this I can see is my front, just mark it. Get a pencil or something and mark on your garment. That's the front, and then this is the back, you know, just so you know. But as I say, mine is pretty easy to tell. Just mark it. And then with your sleeves, mine are pretty equal. Now some sleeve caps, the back and front are very different and they're not halved equally. Mine's pretty equal, so I'm good to, it doesn't matter which way I put mine on when I attach it to my actual bodice. It doesn't really matter. But if you have a big difference in your sleeve cap, you're going to have to know which side was the back and which was the front. So just mark your stuff. It doesn't hurt to mark it anyway, whichever way you take it off. You know, obviously you can also see this would be the front because your seam is at the bottom here, and then this one would be this side. So I know that this would be the front. So, but if it's sometimes it's just easier to mark it off on here. And yeah, so just do that. Make sure that you have it marked, and then make sure you have all your pieces nicely. Now this one's a little bit long for me, so I'm not going to go quite as long as this, but I'm not going to cut it off. See, plus it's got a bit of a goodie here, curve. If you don't want that, just cut yours straight. Get a ruler and cut it straight, or leave it and just put your motifs on straight. It's whatever you want to do. You know, I don't want mine to come out like that. Well, I might. I don't know. I'll see. Otherwise, just fold it in or pin it or cut it or whatever. But yeah, that pattern is up to you, to your discretion as to how you want to do it. So yeah, now that you've got that, if you're doing it this way, where you take your top without cutting it out, you'll just have to be sure that you can put it on top of a piece of fabric and then just follow your lines. Because remember, this is for your front, so you want your front sleeve. And then where you turned and you just come here. So you're just really tracing this as it is. And then you do the same for the back. You just trace the same one. It's probably easier. That's just a quick way if I'm just showing you that way. But the best is to cut it out. Is to literally cut your top out, as I showed you in the other clip, where you actually cut it out and then get your pattern from that. This isn't the easiest way, but that is one way that you can do it. Or you can get a pattern from a top, or you can measure yourself from side to side and design what you want to design. So that's just different ways to actually make your pattern. Alright, so another way to make a pattern, I'm trying to give you so many different ways so that you're not limited to one style, is find yourself a pattern. Just a real cheap pattern, but what you want to look for is, you want to just look for a plain garment, something that doesn't have a lot of sewing in it, in the sense of they make these princess styles and they'll have sewing going up in the middle and sewing on the sleeves. You don't want that, because you don't want a lot of pieces. You want just a plain piece. And as you can see in this one, I'm not seeing any sewing. It's a plain top, which you can just cut that part out and you can just cut the sleeve out. And you can just work on, either cut it out on fabric. It's probably better to cut a piece of fabric out in that and just follow that. It'll be easier if you're struggling to do what I'm showing here with the shirt that you have. Just get a pattern, but as I say, look for that it doesn't have a lot of sewing in it. You don't have 100 pieces. It's a plain top that's straight up and down, and you've got a sleeve, long or short, whichever you prefer. For example, this one too, there's another one that's plain. This has got too much, unless of course you're able to do so. But, well, I suppose it's not too bad. It doesn't have too many different pieces. See, now this one's a little suspect because it looks like it's got sewing in the back of it, which means you're going to have two different pieces, which you don't want. You want one straight piece, which is like this one. This is a straight piece, and I can see that it's on the front and the back. And you can open your pattern and have a look too and see what they actually have in the pieces. So you would just take this, and there, I can see there's my piece over here. There's a piece over, sorry, there's a piece here, and there's a piece there for the top, and then my sleeve. Yeah, so that's basically all. And then what you would do is just put your sleeve piece in there and just draw it. Draw it with your piece in, so you don't have to do two separate parts, because just always remember that your sleeve is usually a little bit bigger. They make it a little bit bigger than this little hole over here. One of them is larger, so you just want to be aware of that. So if you actually just put your sleeve on there and then just come and draw around it, draw your piece, and voila, there you have your pattern. So I think that's about all with making your pattern. I don't know what else to give you. You know, that's going to be your best bet, is to either follow this, either follow your pattern, cut yours out and do the way I showed you here, or get a piece top that you can just work directly on, like this one. That's all in one. Those are your different things that you can do. So now that you know that, find what's going to work best for you. Find a nice garment pattern that you can work with, and let's get started. Okay, now my pattern that I'm using is a bit of an easier pattern. I just found a shirt that's already all in one with the sleeves, and that'll actually be a lot easier if you can find a shirt that you have that's like that. Then I'll just use the back like this, and then I'll flip it over and use the front in the way the front is. But if you don't have a top like that, it's not an issue. Just follow what I said to cut yours out. And when you've cut it out, just be sure which is your back and which is your front. This is easy for me because I've got a logo on here, so I know that's my front. And then you just take your sleeve and you're going to just pin it back on. Now you can leave it, you can do it where you don't actually take it off, and you could just cut it at the top, but this way is, it's just a little easier in one way, because then I know that my proportions will be right on either side. But as I say, it's not that you want it perfect, you just want it generally the same. You don't want it to be off too much. So all that you're going to do is just remember that the sleeve that you've cut off is the top and is the front and the back. So don't get confused with that. This, you want to pin it on the right way. Make sure that your armhole is facing that way. So you're going to pin the wrong side and the wrong side together here. Okay, and that's my front. So that's how I know which sleeve. You can actually mark on your sleeve which one is which one, the front and the back. You'll know which is the front and the back. You could actually mark it on your pattern as you're cutting it out, but otherwise you're just going to pin it on at the armhole. So just pin it at the armhole there. Now I halved mine. Okay, so what I did was I actually took the sleeve before I pinned it on here, and I just halved it. So I went from there to there and I halved it, and then I halved it here, and I just marked it over there with pencil. I marked it where it halved. Okay, so that was the half, and this was a half here, so I marked it with pencil there and there and in the middle, and then I drew a line across. So that's the half of the front sleeve. Okay, because you're pinning it onto the front right sides. It's got to be the right side to the right side. So when you flip it over, you're seeing two right sides. And when you've got it this way, you've got both wrong sides. Okay, so that's your wrong side. So now I know that that's where I've halved it. So that's the top. That's got to come onto here. So that top where I made that little mark, that's going to be over here. And you don't want to pin it too much, because I'm going to leave my pins in when I crochet it. So I'm just pinning it slightly together. Now, when you're sewing your fabric, your sleeve is probably going to be larger than this. So don't worry about that. Just pin it the best that you can. Doesn't matter if yours ends up a bit ruffled. And then put your ends together here. That's my end over there. Okay, so you're just going to do that. Just pin it together. And as you see, mine's a little ruffled here, because this, for your sewing, it's usually larger with your sleeve. But we don't need it larger for our crocheting. So we're just going to do it like that. And now it's attached on there. So now when you do your project, you're just going to work all the way with this. See, it kind of folds a little bit, but you're just going to go like this. You can redraw it if you like, and you're just getting the general shape. I'm not worrying about all this fluff that's in here. You can just fold it over like this if you like, and because you want this, you want your armhole where it's come in, so be sure to have this right. I might just pin it this way so it'll lie better. Oops. Okay, the main thing that you want is that you have a part over here that comes out. So this isn't the end of the world. I can just fold that in like that. Because your garment stretches, and I don't know, if you've taken a really small top, you might want to be careful about how much you actually just pull in here, but generally speaking you should be okay. And then you're just following it. I mean, like I'm following my top here. I'm just following where it stops and where it starts, and that's basically all that you're going to do. So you're going to go up to here. As I say, I drew a line in pencil, so I know where to stop for the one over here. Now you could, another way is that this is what you're going to do, but you could finish the whole sleeve. You could just do one big motif, and then it will flip over, and you can attach it to your front when you do the front part here. So that's also one way that you could do it. And remember, the same with your front here. You want to keep this, you want to keep these edges together. It seems like it's a bit of a sewing lesson, but it's not really. You want to keep that together, and then whatever extra little fluff you have in here, you just pin it together so it's out the way. You just want your general shape That's what you're wanting. So you do that, but you'd obviously pin it onto the front, your back over here. So then you've got your shape. And yeah, then that's what you do if your top is like this. But as I say, it's a little easier to have a top that's already just all in one. And but as I say, this isn't an issue. And if you wanted to rather just redraw it than do it on this, just come all the way up here. Get your general shape here, because now it's easy to do that. Just go here, go across, come up, and go here. And then you can fold the piece that you actually made. If you're not using this, fold it over and make sure both sides are equal. That's just a different way to do it. But otherwise, this is basically what you want. And I mean, you could pin this and see if it's not too tight. It shouldn't be too tight on you, because if your top is the right size, it's just that your fabric usually has extra, and we don't need extra with our crochet work. So that's what you're going to do. Then therefore you've got your template. So as I say, you can now start crocheting, and you're just going to follow this general pattern. You're going to put your work on top of this, and I'll show you when I do mine, but it's the same thing with a different style. You're going to go work up to here, you're going to go all the way up to there and up to here. Now, as I say, if you want to complete your whole sleeve, which I would probably, if it was me, I would probably finish the whole sleeve. I'm not sure, it depends. And then just flip it over, and then when you've done your other side, you can just join this together. So that's probably the best way to do it. But anyway, that's how you make your different templates. So this is the one where you actually cut it out. The other one I showed you is where it's not cut out. It's a little bit harder, but you just follow the lines and make a pattern out of that. And then I'm going to show you with mine what I'm doing. I'm going to be showing you on this one how to do the rest of your work. But yeah, so let's get started. Alright, so now you have to decide what yarn am I going to use. You got to decide, once you know what design you've decided on and you've got that ready, then you have to decide, okay, what do I actually want to use? Or you could do it vice versa. Say you have your fabric, your yarn, and this is what you want to use. Then you can think, okay, well, what garment do I want to make? So either way, whichever works for you, you have to pick. That's the only real hard part, is deciding on what you want to use. Now, you can either go with a thinner yarn, you can go with this multi-purpose color, it's got different colors, or you can go with a thinner yarn. This is a cotton, and it's pretty thin, so it's going to take you a little bit longer. The thinner it is, the longer it's going to take you. So if you're just trying to experiment and want to quickly see something, go with something a little bit thicker. This is a little bit thicker, this peaches and cream. This is actually what I'm using, and I can't tell you how much I've used because I've trying to finish these cones that I had. This is the same make as that, but it's just in a light pink, and I'm undecided whether I want to add pink into mine or not. I'm thinking I'm probably going to leave it just plain white, but as I go I might change my mind. But yeah, the thing that you need to know is your hook, the size hook versus the yarn. So you can usually find it on your yarn. It's going to tell you somewhere what size to use. Now I'm not seeing it there. Okay, this one. This yarn is a medium 4, so you would therefore use a size 5mm, a US 8 or 8 crochet hook, which is this one over here. So get your hook and your yarn together of this. Now, if you're wanting to go a little bit bigger, now this is the yarn that I'm using, and I'm actually using a 6.5mm crochet hook because I wanted mine to be a little bit looser and more lacy. So there would have been a big difference between the 5 and the 6.5. And I'm happy with my bigger size hook. So be aware of that. If you're wanting to have a lacier look, you might want to go up with your hook and see there. But you can do a little practice piece too and see if you like the texture that you're getting. Anyway, that's what you're going to do. So now we can finally start our garment.